Hello, my name is Elisa Othello Sidney. I'm a respiratory therapist, and today we will be discussing mechanical ventilators. So, what is a ventilator? A ventilator is an external device that supports the movement of air through the chest cavity and the respiratory tract. It maintains the upper airway opening and a patent airway, and provides adequate ventilation in numerous situations. The goals of mechanical ventilation are mainly to relieve respiratory distress, to decrease a patient's work of breathing, to improve pulmonary gas exchange, to help with respiratory muscle fatigue, to allow the lungs to have time to heal in cases of respiratory illnesses, and to avoid complications. Long-term ventilators generally have the same basic features as hospital ventilators, and adult and pediatric ventilators do the same thing, and some ventilators are even able to ventilate both the adult and pediatric population. So when we're talking about types of ventilators, there are multiple types of ventilators. There is a fixed ventilator, or the ventilator that you would see in a hospital. It's usually attached to a wall gas outlet, air or oxygen, and can't be moved. On the flip side, we usually have portable ventilators for patients who are ventilated long-term or at home, or transport ventilators for when we need to transport a patient. These can be moved from place to place and generally can be attached to an outside oxygen source like a tank or a flow meter. And then we have non-invasive ventilation, which is usually done through a BiPAP or CPAP, and it's usually done with a mask rather than an invasive airway. So indications for ventilation, there are two main factors. So usually a ventilatory issue where we're talking about hypercapnic respiratory failure. And when we're thinking about that, we're thinking more about increased respiratory fatigue, a decreased respiratory drive, as well as chest wall abnormalities. And the second reason would be due to insufficient gas exchange, which is a hypoxic respiratory failure. And when we're thinking about that, we're thinking more of a ventilation perfusion mismatch or VQ mismatch. We're thinking of intrapulmonary shunts, and we're thinking of a decreased FRC, forced functional residual capacity. So when we want to figure out what is the issue, there are three areas to assess. There is the ventilatory mechanics, which is the actual respiratory muscle strength. There is ventilation, so we're looking at gas exchange with CO2 clearance, and then oxygenation, also with gas exchange on the oxygen side. So home ventilators, they're usually used in long-term care, so someone who has to be ventilated for a long period for whatever reason, and they're designed with a relatively simple interface to keep it as simple as possible for the patient and their families. Indications for a home ventilator would be the inability to wean invasive ventilatory support, whether it be to neurological status, an ongoing respiratory issue, or otherwise. As well as in diseases such as neuromuscular diseases or any progressively worsening disease that affects the respiratory drive. Some contraindications for home ventilation would be if the patient's medical condition is considered too unstable. In those cases, the patient would need to remain in hospital under closer observation, sometimes in an ICU. And the need for higher pressures. When we're talking about higher pressures, there's an increased risk with the disconnection of a circuit because of the loss of the pressure inside the circuit as well as the patient's airway. There's a higher chance of atelectasis. So now we'll discuss the ventilator features, and the main thing that we're going to talk about is the circuits. So there are two types of circuits. There is a double or dual limb circuit, which we usually see in ventilators that are in the ICU. So what it is, it's like this. It is two corrugated tubings going from the ventilator, connecting to a Y piece here, and then connecting from this Y piece to the patient's airway. When we're looking at a circuit like this, one tube is for inspiration and the other is for expiration. The other type of circuit would be the single limb circuit. Those are usually used on vents like home vents and transport vents. And it has one corrugated tubing like this that goes from the ventilator to the patient. In cases where we're looking at a single limb circuit, there is no inspiratory expiratory limb. So we have to add in this piece here. It is the expiratory valve or whisper valve, and it just allows the patient to be able to exhale. Whenever you see a patient that is on a single limb circuit, we want to make sure that this piece is there so that they can exhale and that it's not blocked. So now we're going to get a little bit into ventilator terminology and the ventilator modes. So there is controlled mode ventilation, or CMV, and this is a mode where we are going to set the desired volume that we want to give the patient at a desired rate. In a mode like this, the patient doesn't have the ability to trigger additional breaths, so it would usually be used with a paralyzed patient to prevent accidental extra triggers. There is assist control ventilation, or ACV. This is similar, where we're also setting a desired volume or pressure and a rate, but the patient has the ability to trigger additional breaths, and when they do, they will get whatever was set. There is CPAP, or continuous positive airway pressure, which is a non-invasive form of ventilation via a mask. And it basically is to help decrease the work of breathing. It helps with the clearance of fluid in the lungs in cases like pulmonary edema or pneumonia. And it prevents upper airway collapse, which we see in cases like patients that have obstructive sleep apnea. When talking about CPAPs, we also have to look at BiPAPs, which are the other form of non-invasive ventilation. It is a biphasic positive airway pressure ventilation, where the patient is ventilated between a high inspiratory pressure and a low expiratory pressure, either at a set rate by the clinician or it's powered by the patient's effort. And it does something similar as the CPAP, where it helps with CO2 clearance, it helps remove fluid from the lungs, as well as with cases of nocturnal hypoventilation, or where the patient might just have a weaker respiratory muscle or drive. And then we have pressure support ventilation, or PSV, which is where we have a spontaneously breathing patient, and then we are supporting each one of their breaths by a set amount of pressure. Continuing with our ventilator terminology, there are types of breath that can be delivered. There is a volume control or volume assist, where we are setting the desired tidal volume that we want the patient to receive. And there is a pressure control or assist, where we are setting the desired high pressure that we want to be reached, and then we use that in order to optimize ventilation. In a pressure-controlled mode, your volume will vary from breath to breath based on the patient's effort, the airway, as well as the ventilator. Going into ventilator settings, we have the FiO2, or fraction of inspired oxygen. That's the amount of oxygen that we're setting and that we want the patient to receive. There is the VT, or tidal volume. That is the volume that we are either giving or that the patient is taking. When we are looking at tidal volume, there will always be a VTI, which is your inspired tidal volume, and the VTE, which is your expired tidal volume. The two numbers should be relatively the same. If there's too high of a gap between the two, this could be an indication of an issue either with your patient or with your ventilator. The pressure levels, so there is the peak inspiratory pressure, the PIP, and that is the highest level of pressure that will be reached during inspiration. The rate, so it can be either set or measured, and that is the amount of breath that we want a patient to take within a minute. And then the PEEP, positive end expiratory pressure, that is the amount of pressure that remains in the lungs at the end of expiration. We set a PEEP because it helps prevent lung collapse when the patient breathes out, and it helps improve oxygenation.